Hey, what's happening, all you beautiful people? Another episode of working on the Ranger. So as you can see, I've got some of the hood stripped, some of this door is stripped. Just got to finalize taking some stuff out. Cab corners, rockers, all that kind of stuff is done. There has been some patchwork. This cab corner has been done before, and some of this rocker has been touched before, so I'll probably dive into that at a later date. So what we're going to do here today is I'm going to take this door, like initially I was talking about with this door. We've got a low spot, and initially I had said that I wasn't really going to touch it. It was good enough, but I think just because we're going to lift this up a little bit, I could go ahead and just fill right over top of it, but I don't necessarily want to do that. So I could be using this guy here, and basically what it is, it's just a steel stud that arcs onto the panel, and then it's got a slide hammer, and then you just twist it off. It's very handy, works quite well. It's a great tool, but it's not the tool that we're going to be using today. The tool that we're going to be using today is just a standard paintless dent repair bar, and that's going to gain me access into the rear. I'm going to get that set in. I'm going to manipulate the metal up, get that pressed out. We'll do some scratch patterns, make sure we're on the right track, and then we'll go ahead and get this thing body worked and possibly the hood stripped and get some stuff into primer. So we've got our bar. We get this slid into access here. Find the spot where we need to All right, so you can see our scratch pattern is significantly better. There's a little bit of a low spot here still, but we were able to get some of this up. So I'm going to try to work this area just a little bit more, just because of the fact that our scratch is good there. Our scratch is pretty even here, but we're still missing a couple. So I'll get that tool back in, do a little bit more finesse on there, and see if we can't get lifted all the way up. So we've got our first coat of fill on the door. Got this spread over, nice even taper there, and then we've got this whole bottom edge hit. So I'm gonna go ahead here now and take my long block, hit it with 80 grit, and just start knocking that down, knocking that smooth, and yeah, finesse it a bit. There we go, there we have it. We've got our bodywork on this door done. It actually turned out quite well. Only needed to do one coat. The metalwork was basically all there, so we were laughing in that department. And we've got a nice super thin layer of filler. There's hardly any filler here. And this is what you want to see when you're doing filler, is like there is a very translucent layer, like you can see through the filler here, like so that graduated edge that comes up is nearly non-existent. All our edges have been exposed, they're still exposed. You can see metal on all of our edges, all the stamped steel part where this lip right here is actually a little bit higher. From when they stamp the metal, you have a bit of a wave. So we're right up to that edge. We're not over crowning it, so we don't have too much filler there. We're right in the nook. Nice low spot. So yeah, everywhere is very fine. Really nice, smooth taper. So I think we're basically done with this door, which is absolutely remarkable. So next thing is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the hood off. I do know that there's a couple spots on the hood that I need to address. I'm gonna get his hood pin mounts taken out, finish stripping it, get that cleaned up, and then we'll get this stuff into primer. And then yeah, that'll basically cap that. Do a little bit of edge cleanup and start laying on some primer. Get in. right, so we got scratch patterns set into the hood. I've got it completely kind of taken down, and I see exactly the spots that we need to address. You can see in this corner here, got a bit of deformation in the panel. There's really no access, so I will have to be using the stud puller. On the top edge here, we've got high spots, low. We've got another little bit of a low spot here. We've got a raised edge and a low, so that's kind of a strange crease. But what's going on here is right here, it's glued or foamed where the skin is put onto the panel. So that's a spot I'll have to try and address. And just, you know, little stuff. All in all, the hood itself is in really good condition. We've got this edge that is down a little bit, so we can see we've got a lower impression here. So I'm going to take a dolly and hammer and bring that up a little bit, which will raise this edge, and then I might have to give it a stud pull with that guy just to pop it up. And just smaller spots throughout the hood. Just taking my time, really feeling and checking the panel. And then, yeah, so the biggest thing is we don't miss anything. And if we do, it's not that big of a deal. We're just going to be going into primer, so we'll do a first round of body work. We'll get everything set where we think it's good, get it in the booth, prime it, and once we start sanding the primer, if we see a little bit of issues or visual cues that we have to do something else, well, that's what we'll do. So let's get pulling some panel and get her into body work. So first things first, just got to try and get this panel back to its original dimension. So I'm just going to give her a tap up. Go a bit low. Looks pretty good there. Still low right in here, but we got this edge back. It was rolled down a little bit, so now we've got this edge brought back up. I can go ahead and try and get the stud spotter on here, lift up this area right here, and then this crown, this is a high crown area, or a higher crown than what this panel has. So we'll lift up here, and then we'll work this edge down and try and bring all this metal that's low back up. Get our ground put on. So just applying upward pressure and just tapping the metal that's high. And what that's doing is it's just allowing the metal molecules that are pushed over and squished together. With putting pressure here and just tapping that down, it's naturally wanting to put them back into their natural state and in their natural spot, which helps you and lets you get your metal back to where it needs to be. little bit of corrosion in there, not corrosion, just the slightest bit of E-coat in there still, so it didn't want to stick. This guy here is just going to need a little tap up. The slide hammer. Still high. Right here. That feels better. Edge is still off a little bit. Yeah, it looks okay now. I'll take our scratch pattern. We'll just run it, whereas it wasn't touching there before, and we'll see. You don't want to be too aggressive with the file because this is fairly light gauge sheet metal, and it doesn't take much to cut through it, but we're within a 32nd of an inch for sure, probably less. So that's more than a pass. We can get a little bit of a fill on this section, get that cleaned up, and we'll be good to go. So we'll go ahead and move to the front. I'll stick her on time lapse and see if I can't work out the front. Alright, so I got basically all the bodywork. Was a couple more spots that I had initially missed, but we're good to go here now. I've got everything kind of figured out and set out on the hood. You've got a really nice transition of filler, very faint line, so that's a really nice transition. So we're just getting it cleaned up here now, and I'm using a water-based pre-cleaner. That's just to get everything off the panel. I've already wiped them 3 times already, and this is going to be the last one. And as you can see, still quite dirty. That's the key to any quality paint job. Anything related to automotive refinishing is it's all in your prep. So even though it looked clean, it wasn't. And if it's not clean, the product that I put on isn't going to stick. So we'll keep wiping this down, and then I'll get some masking on this, the back mask, everything, and we'll get some primer on it. Alrighty, so we got the panels all cleaned up, masked, ready to go. We're just gonna go into the mixing room here and start mixing up our product for priming. We're gonna do an etch primer. Basically, you would think of that as like an adhesion promoter, essentially. What it is, it's just a very acidic, corrosion resistant product that actually etches itself into the metal. I know if you've ever sprayed anything or spray painted some bare metal and then after a while you can just kind of flick the paint off, that's because of the fact that it won't stick because it can't etch into the metal. So it's basically, etch is basically an adhesion promoter that prevents corrosion, and that allows your other products to stick on. So we'll get that mixed up, sprayed on there, and then we'll do some primer. Oh, fuck. That's handy. I guess I should probably put a cup in the frickin' machine. Son of a gun. All excited to film and, yeah. Missed the step. Alright, now that we got a cup, a mixing cup in there, we need 193. $72. There we have it. We're all primed up, good to go. I only put 3 coats on it and then 4 on the bodywork area. I could have done more, but I'm going to let this sit for a little while, let everything shrink out, and then give it a good block sand. I do see a few, so we got an issue right there that I never felt, but other than that, nice smooth primer means a lot nicer end finish. So I'll probably give it another couple coats after it's all blocked out. Get it all blocked out, 2 more coats, let that set, and then get into the finish stages. But got other panels to work on, so that's not a huge concern here right now. So yeah, with that being said, I really appreciate you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying it. This is all kind of a new process and a new thing for me, kind of doing some explanations and that sort of thing. So if you have any comments on, maybe what to change, something that you'd like to see a little bit more, be sure, let me know. But with that said, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in, watching these videos, giving old Piston Broke the thumbs up, and giving me a share and subscribing. So yeah, once again, thank you guys very much. Cheers, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.